welcome to season 3, episode 2.
3.
No, 2. Weekly series 3.
Oh, I put 3.
The 3?
Yeah.
It's 2.
It's 2.
Because the last week was the first weekly. Anyways, don't worry, guys. We'll sort it out. So, Mike's not here today. So we have a new intern, Junior Mike. Peter.
Hi, everybody.
So he's going to help us out today, guys. So help us out, start answering questions. As you know, the live questions get priority over any other questions that we received. And here we are. And it is season 3, episode 2. Second in the weekly series. All right. So guys, let's start with, one of the questions was funk roll application. And to be honest with you, I had to look it up, or I had to ask Enrique. I thought it was some piece of sushi. So I guess, when you turn, I'm not a big fan of this, doing this from the bottom. So what Enrique is doing, I'm not a fan of what he's doing. I'm not saying it doesn't work. First of all, I got a scrawny neck. So if I see the guy kind of trying to, if I was the guy like Enrique doing this, I'd be worried about getting cross-faced. And to be honest with you, it depends, if you're a strong, jacked wrestler, this probably is not going to bother you. For me, it would bother me because there is, this can be quite strong. This could actually be submission. But let's assume that the cross-face doesn't work, or he buried his head a little too soon, all right? And he starts to, so I just go with it. As I'm going with it, I'm going to swing my leg to the hips, and now I'm going to step over. Now, if he continues with this, he comes up to the turtle, and I just ride him, roll him down here, and I'll bring the leg over, and guys, this is done. So let's go over that again. It brings me to an interesting point, guys. Yesterday, Enrique and I were in Massachusetts filming a 3rd DVD for BJJ Fanatics, and guess what it's going to be on? We'll see if there's any guesses. I just did one of the things.
That's probably why I thought it was the 3rd episode, because we filmed yesterday.
Oh, man. So anytime you point a camera at Enrique, he thinks it's a new roll with the Fox episode. All right, let's go with the funk roll. I gotta be, yes, Peter.
Adolfo Ferronda says split guard. Is that what it's about?
Split guard. Not yet. We'll come to that. But I can tell you this: next time in a sushi place, I will order a funk roll because it's gonna be in my head until then. Yes.
Elad Sapir asked triangles.
Oh, good guess. Yes, Elad. Good guess.
And then somebody else with a name in Russian letters that I cannot read asked breaking down the turtle.
Good guess too, but it's guys, it's triangles. It's all about regular, inverted, reverse, and a whole family of what I call ugly triangles. All right?
The ugly family.
By the way, the one I hit him after at the end of this sequence that started with the funk roll, that's one of the ugly ones. All right? So let's look at it again. So as he goes for it, so I straighten out my leg, and I just kind of go with it. As he's going through it, my left foot goes close to his hip. I'm going to step over, looking, again, I have an opportunity possibly, depends who's a little faster to get into this position. I have another opportunity to cross-face it. But even if it doesn't, it doesn't work, and he comes up to his knees, that's okay. I'm looking to bring my leg over and control his left arm with my left arm. All right? My students will know now. I'm grabbing my shin for additional control, and then I just lock it up. You can see why this is an ugly triangle. It is not beautiful looking, but it works. One more time from a different angle. All right, so again, first line of defense, cross face. If I missed it, I'm just gonna go with it, and when I step, I'm gonna glide my foot towards his hips, and then I'm gonna go back to try to cross face. Again, if I missed it and we roll, I go under his arm, push his head. You know, with the gi, I have an additional option of the lapel, and then just lock up one of the ugly family triangles. Do we have any questions on this? Yes.
Jonas Lucas asks, what is the best setup for Ezekiel choke? That's not about this, is it?
Oh, that's a pretty broad concept. It depends whether it's a gi or no gi Ezekiel choke. The best possible place to set up an Ezekiel choke is when you mount it. So if you mount it, and I set up an Ezekiel choke, right? So as I'm setting this up, so you have a chance to finish the choke while you're mounted, all right? It doesn't matter whichever side you use, or there's a couple different variations. So I like to apply it mounted, but right now I'm not applying any pressure, and the reason why this is the best place to set it up, let's assume that you don't quite have it in the exact correct spot. I'm looking to have, whether it's usually the sort of the blade of my arm, of my hand, on his carotid. So sometimes in the heat of the battle, you don't always get perfect placement. So if that happens, you will get rolled. But the Ezekiel, even if you don't have perfect placement, as he's trying to roll you, people have a tendency to extend their neck, and that placement becomes a lot better. It gets turbocharged in the turnover. So let's look at that again. So again, when I'm hitting an Ezekiel choke with the gi, I try to place it on the carotid. I actually have it pretty good right now. You can see, you can tell by Enrique's cringing face. But if he rolls me, even if you don't have perfect placement, it's going to get a lot better in that roll. Now, if we're talking about iron fist, which I consider in the family of no-gi Ezekiel chokes, okay? Very similar, but instead of going into my gi, basically what I'm doing is I'm going on my wrist. So instead of the gi, I'm going on my wrist. That one I can apply pretty much from any position. So a lot of times, let's just do real quick no gi. So again, the iron fist, which is, you know, to me, it's a variation of a guillotine, but the reality of it is the iron fist is basically a no-gi Ezekiel choke. So I try to hit a guillotine. Enrique goes to the correct side, meaning gets past my legs. I change my grip. So if I feel that I missed the guillotine, so Enrique goes to the correct side. Now he beat my guillotine, but what he did not count on, I switched my grip from a regular guillotine to an iron fist. Can you guys see this? So even though I'm on the bottom, the no-gi version of it, I apply pretty much from anywhere. All right? And I usually transition into that from my guillotine. If I feel that my leg's going to get past or that my guillotine is not good enough, I will switch to a no-gi Ezekiel, which I like to refer to as iron fist. I like that name. Do we have any questions, guys?
Yeah, what do you do after, or when he rolls if you lose the Ezekiel?
Well, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So, let's back up for a second. So, guys, this is a very important thing for you. When you're going with somebody, okay, rolling with somebody, fighting, you got to look at sort of the body build. Mount is considered the strongest position, one of the strongest positions in jiu-jitsu. However, if you got a guy that's kind of barrel-chested, you may have to. So you don't have so when I mount and you got a guy that's barrel-chested, it's gonna be fairly easy for them to roll you. All right. So if I'm going with a barrel-chested guy and I'm trying to submit him, chances are I'm gonna stay on top of side control because it's gonna be a lot harder for him to roll me because I'm perpendicular to him. I can sort of block the roll. Now, if he's a barrel-chested guy, especially if you go for the Ezekiel, chances are you will get rolled. All right. So again, keep that in mind. Kind of just an overall strategy, depending on on the body build of your opponent. But if I'm rolling and I start to lose the Ezekiel, what I'm doing is I'm already getting ready for a follow-up attack. You can see my hips are going, my feet are going on his hips, and I'm already going somewhat perpendicular. If his hand was under my armpit, I would hit him with, basically go, stretch him out, go for a triangle. But Enrique brought his arm across, so what I'd be looking for is start to pivot into the perpendicular guard. Don't fall over so easily. I will lock up another triangle. So guys, as you know, if you've watched any of these episodes throughout the antivirus edition, anytime I'm in this position, if I can lock up a triangle, even though I have both of his arms in, I will. This is pure misery for Enrique.
Correct.
All right? So if I can, I will. If I cannot, I don't have. So that's a very good point. When you're drilling things, I advocate you drill things, obviously paying specific attention to that move or that sequence. However, you always want to have a backup plan. The general backup plan, if you're mounted, and the general backup plan is to make sure that if you're getting rolled, your hip positioning relative to his has to change. Okay, so if I'm mounted on Enrique, now there's two, obviously there's sort of the trap the arm and arch. The other one is just use the elbow escape. But for this one, he's gonna just roll me. All right. So if he rolls me, go. Yeah, this was basically no backup plan. Okay. If this wasn't a self-defense scenario, even though technically from a grappling perspective, we are neutral, from a self-defense or MMA perspective, this just dramatically changed. You went from being in a great position to potentially getting knocked out. All right, so let's look at it again. This is very, very important. I'd encourage you to also check out the episode with the air shrimp. I don't know what episode that was.
It was antivirus, though.
It was antivirus, the daily edition. So that's
60 something.
yeah. There's a Google Docs Adolfo Ferranda put together, which indexes a lot of the episodes, what techniques are covered, and it's alphabetically ordered. But anyways, if I'm mounted, and if I expect to be rolled, your backup plan has to be to adjust your hips relative to his. So if I'm going for an Ezekiel and I'm getting rolled, so I got to do one of two things: either get my hips out, or start to adjust them relative to his as the roll is being completed. So again, if you've been watching this for a while, you could see that basically both of my backup plans involve either split guard or perpendicular guard. You have to make that judgment call. It depends how he's coming up. But either one of those will give you a great opportunity to sort of attack with So this is split guard if his arm is under my, so now I'm in a great position to hit him with a triangle or a variety of other things, but this is not a neutral position, okay? So even though he turned me, I went into a very offensive guard. Now, this time, I'm gonna go into a more perpendicular guard. So as he's coming up, I'm already looking to sort of start going into perpendicular guard. And again, question is, if he gives me an arm bar, if I can do this, this is done.
Yep.
Speak up, they can't hear you.
Pat.
All right? So, does it bring flashback from yesterday?
Yes. It never ends.
Yes, we have a question.
No, 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. It's okay. It's my fault. It's on me. So, let's recap. This is very, very important concept, guys. If you're in a dominant position, and that also, you should apply the same concept to being on top of side control. But we're working sort of the Ezekiel from the mount. If you're mounted and you get rolled, which is certainly a good possibility, you have to have a backup plan. What happens? Don't just, people have a tendency sometimes when you roll with somebody, attack, and it gets taken away from you, and now you're in a bad position. That's not a good way to string things. So when you train, think about, this is my attack, this is the plan. I hope to, you hope to Ezekiel choke them or iron fist them right off that move. But if it doesn't work, here's what are logically smooth, some might say fluid, ways to get into sort of the backup plan. Again, if you mounted, either split guard or perpendicular guard are both very viable and advisable, from at least from my perspective. The question is, which one do you choose? It's a bit of a function of how he's coming up. If his right arm was under my armpit, I'd go with split guard. Okay, and split guard we covered a lot in the episode, so you could just look it up, and maybe you could hit search button on YouTube and go find split guard. Or if he's coming in and his arms are sort of like more closer on your chest, then I would start to go into perpendicular guard. Does that make sense? Do we have any follow-up questions on that specific move? Yes.
Elad Sapir wants to know if you can show an example from side control for that.
I'm assuming if I get turned from side control. So, guys, before we go there, a lot of people lock up their hands. I'm not a fan of this, and the reason for that is if you lock up your hands, if you lock your hands up like this, yeah, you're gonna, by the time you post, it's gonna be too late. Even with this, there's a split-second delay for you to disconnect. So when I'm on top of side control, I like to have my hands kind of more free. I control the head with my right in this case, and my left posts to make sure that I don't get rolled. But let's assume I got rolled. Yeah, I'm gonna make it difficult. So you could see that I was getting rolled. I kind of moved my hips and I start to. So I landed on the bottom side control, which you will a lot of times when you get rolled by side control. You just change positions. Go ahead, pull out your arm. Another flashback from yesterday, guys. So you could see that anytime, if I'm in a dominant position, I will make it difficult for him to reverse me. That forces them to kind of like just really extend their arms, really extend their limbs. And as I'm, as he's coming on top, I'm getting on the bottom, I start to transition into something that I can immediately attack right off. You could see that again. So again, if you're on top of side control and you get reversed, usually you just switch places. So as I'm doing this, so as Enrique, he rocks to me. So I'm look at my hip adjustments, and as he's coming up, I'm attempting an arm bar. which may work. He's smart enough to. And another triangle. This time inverted. So again, that's an example of a backup plan from being reversed from top side control to go to the bottom side control. Do we have any more questions, or are we pretty much at the end? Guys, we're wrapping up because now that we're doing weekly, I'm kind of trying to keep it to 20 minutes or so, almost like an American sitcom. So we have to get some writers to help us come up with good jokes.
We need commercials.
Yeah, we need commercials to fill out a full half an hour. Before we go, I want to point out one thing. Tom Dowdwolf, I believe from Canada, asked sort of which training methods I advocate, which work better than others. I don't know if Tom is online, but I need to get a clarification. Perhaps next time, Tom, you can give me clarification. It depends what your goals are. Are you an avid hobbyist that trains 3-4 times a week? It depends also where you are in the level of your development. Are you a blue belt? Are you a high level purple? Do you intend on competing? So what I would advocate is there's no one size fits all as far as training and achieving your goals. So it's more specific based on the individual circumstances and the goals. However, that said, there is one very simple thing: repetition. If you're talented, you don't need as much repetition as an untalented guy, but either way, you need repetition. Reps build muscle memory. So the more time you can train, the better for you. That said, if you train 7 days a week, you're gonna get banged up. If you train 5 days a week, you're gonna get banged up, meaning your body gets tired. So you have to come up with a weekly schedule. Weekly sort of almost like a schedule where you allow your body to sort of alternate hard days and soft days. So with that, guys, we're going to close it out, and we will see you next Friday again at 10:30 a.m. And this time it's going to be the real Season 3, Episode 3 episode. See you then, guys.